All right, today we are heading deep into the southern skies to explore the constellation Grus, also known as the Crane. Now, it's one of the southern birds, a group of constellations first charted during the Age of Discovery. But what we're going to see is that Grus is so much more than just a pretty pattern in the sky. It's really a cosmic laboratory, and we're about to dive into exactly what makes it so fascinating. So, in this explainer, we're going to trace the amazing story of Grus. We'll start way back when it was a crucial guide for sailors crossing uncharted oceans, and we'll travel all the way to its role today as a natural lab for astrophysicists, and even a prime target in the search for extraterrestrial life. Let's get right into it. First things first, before we unpack all its secrets, we need to know where you can actually see Grus from here on Earth. I mean, its position in our night sky is really the key that unlocks everything else. So, if you happen to be anywhere south of 33 degrees north latitude, we're talking places like most of South America, Australia, or Southern Africa, well, you are in luck. You get a full, absolutely spectacular view of the entire constellation. The best time to see it, by the way, is during September and October when it's at its highest point in the sky. But what if you're a bit further north? Well, between 33 and 53 degrees north, you'll only get a partial look. And the more north you go, the lower cruces will appear on the southern horizon. In fact, right at the northern edge of this zone, you might only catch its most northern star, Gamma Gruis, just kind of skimming the horizon before it disappears from view. And for anyone living north of that 53rd parallel, I'm sorry to say, Grus remains completely out of sight, always hidden below the curve of the Earth. So now that we know where to look, let's talk about how this celestial bird got its name in the first place. You know, unlike the famous constellations from Greek and Roman myths, the story of Grus is actually much more recent. Its history really begins during the Age of Discovery, when European explorers started mapping the southern stars for the very first time. And it all came together really quickly. In the late 1590s, a couple of Dutch navigators were the first to officially document these stars. Then, just a year later in 1598, the cartographer Petrus Plancius added it to his globe, but he called it Phoenicopterus, which is Latin for flamingo. Can you believe it? We almost had a constellation of a flamingo. But it was just a few years later, in 1603, that the astronomer Johann Bayer settled it for good in his legendary star atlas, naming it Grus, the Crane. Okay, we've got the history. Now, let's zoom way in and look at the stars themselves. To really understand Grus, you have to get to know its two brightest members, the stars that truly form the heart of this celestial crane. And what's amazing is that these two stars, Alnair and Beta Gruis, could not be more different. On the one hand, you've got Alnair, a hot, rapidly spinning blue subgiant. And on the other, there's Beta Gruis, a much cooler, but unbelievably enormous red giant. It's really like looking at two completely different chapters in the life story of a star. Let's start with Alnair. This star is spinning at an incredible speed, about 250 kilometers per second at its equator. You know how if you spin pizza dough really fast, it flattens out? Well, that's exactly what's happening to Alnair. Its own rotation is squashing it, so it's not a perfect sphere. It actually bulges out at its equator. And because it's so bright and reliable, it's one of the key stars that pilots and sailors have used for astronavigation for decades. Now, try to wrap your head around the sheer scale of Beta Gruis. This is a red giant, a star that's nearing the end of its life and has puffed up to this colossal size. Just to put it in perspective, if we were to swap our sun with Beta Gruis, its surface would stretch out and completely swallow Mercury and Venus. It's a gigantic stellar furnace, burning about 1,500 times brighter than our own sun. So these individual stars are incredible, right? But a constellation is always more than just its brightest points of light. What about the amazing things hiding in the vast, deep space between them? What else is out there in the domain of the crane? Well, it turns out Grus is home to something absolutely spectacular, a group of 4 galaxies all locked together in this beautiful cosmic dance by their mutual gravity. It's famously known as the Grus Quartet. These 4 spiral galaxies are about 60 million light-years away from us, and as they swirl and pull on each other, their immense gravity squeezes these huge clouds of interstellar gas and dust. This process kicks off these intense, powerful bursts of new star formation, what astronomers call starbursts. It's almost like we get a front-row seat to a stellar nursery operating on a breathtaking galactic scale. From starbirth to strange new worlds, this brings us to one of the most profound subjects connected to Grus, its role in the search for other planets and maybe, just maybe, other life. You see, the search for life is a very methodical, step-by-step process. First, scientists look at stars that are close to us, like the red dwarf Gliese 832. And they did find a planet there, Gliese 832c. It sounds promising, it's in the right zone, but it's probably a super Venus with a thick, scorching hot atmosphere. So the next step is to find stars that are almost twins of our own sun. And that's where a star called HD 211415 comes into play. It's so similar to our sun that it's become a top priority target for SETI projects, the ones that are actively listening for any signals from the stars. So when you really think about it, our relationship with this constellation has come full circle. It began as a landmark for sailors navigating the oceans of Earth, and now it serves as a landmark for scientists navigating the vast ocean of space, pointing the way as we study stellar physics, galactic interactions, and that ultimate question of whether we're alone. Grus has been a map for explorers, a laboratory for physicists, and a beacon of hope for astronomers. It really makes you wonder, what's the next incredible secret the celestial crane is waiting to show us?